Hey guys, Silver here, and when it comes to my favorite video game developer and publisher, it definitely has to be SEGA. There's just something so different about their games. I just love their arcade philosophy and game design that's incorporated with cool, wacky, and creative art styles, as well as how experimental their games are. So with this year being the 65th anniversary of SEGA, I thought I'd make a list of my top 5 favorite SEGA games of all time. Just keep in mind before making this list, I haven't played every SEGA franchise yet, and I've just started playing games from the Yakuza and Persona series, so if you're wondering why they're not on this list, that's why. I definitely want to make a bigger and updated list of my favorite SEGA games in the future though. So anyways, let's get started. Starting off with number 5, we have Streets of Rage 4, released in 2020 for the Nintendo Switch, PS4, and Xbox One. Streets of Rage 4 is without a doubt the best beat 'em up of all time and the best game in the Streets of Rage series. What I love about Streets of Rage 4 is that much like Sonic Mania, this game was made by indie devs who were longtime fans of the series, and in some ways this game is even better than Sonic Mania, especially in the visuals department. Streets of Rage 4 has some of the most beautiful hand-drawn animation in any 2D game. It's like you're playing from a comic book come to life, and it's awesome. The story takes place 10 years after the events of Streets of Rage 3, where a new crime syndicate led by the Y twins terrorizes the city, and it's up to Axel Stone, Blaze Fielding, and Adam Hunter with the help of newcomers Cherry Hunter and Floyd Araria to defeat the Y twins and save the city. When it comes to the combat, it's so much fun. Every character controls so well, and pulling off combos and using each of their unique abilities adds so much variety, ensuring that this is far from just a button masher. My favorite characters would have to be Axel Stone, Cherry Hunter, and Blaze Fielding. You can also unlock extra characters that are pulled straight from the Genesis games, 16 bits in all, like Skate, who is my favorite character from Streets of Rage 2. This game also has a great soundtrack, with the legendary game composer Yuzo Koshio returning to work on some of the tracks.
Visually, this game is stunning. The hand-drawn animation is incredibly well detailed and fluid, making this game stand out a whole lot more compared to the original. Each frame of this game looks like it was ripped straight out of a high-quality comic book or an animated series. The character designs contain an amazing balance between nostalgia and modern flair, maintaining the gritty urban aesthetic that fans love, but with lush, vibrant colors and dynamic lighting effects, bringing the streets to life like never before. The backgrounds themselves are super rich with detail, making the city feel like a living, breathing place. I mean, after all, it is called Streets of Rage. The streets are very important, and it's very much highlighted in this game. The narrative is pretty well done. Now, with all of that said, the combat is still where the game truly shines. It's fluid, responsive, and packed with layers of complexity, rewarding skillful play, but without alienating newcomers. And when you do master this game, it's extremely satisfying to pull off combos and beat the ever-living shit out of people. Every character feels distinct, from Axel's balanced fighting style to Cherry's acrobats and Floyd's mechanical arm. Also, I'm not gonna lie, Blaze is bad as hell. I would definitely do that. And of course, the soundtrack is beautiful. So much energy, it's like a workout mix. It's energetic, it's electrifying, it's a great soundtrack. Overall, SR4 is an extraordinary fusion of old and new, offering stunning visuals, deep and satisfying gameplay, an engaging story, and a fucking killer soundtrack, crowning it as one of the coolest beat 'em up games I've ever played, up there with the Scott Pilgrim game. But yeah, it's easily one of my favorite SEGA games outside of Sonic, and it's an absolute love letter to longtime fans, which is why it's number 5 on this list. As always, it's nice to be on Silver's video. On to the next game.
Overall, Streets of Rage 4 is an amazing beat 'em up and easily one of the best SEGA and indie games of all time. Coming in at number 4, we have Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania, released in 2021 for the Nintendo Switch, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X, in celebration of the 20th anniversary of Monkey Ball. Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania is a remake of the original 2 GameCube games, in addition to all the extra content that was in Super Monkey Ball Deluxe. This series is a puzzle platformer where you roll your monkey inside a ball by moving the stage instead of the character. Now, I'm a newer fan to the Monkey Ball series, as my first game was Banana Blitz when it was remastered on the Switch. And although I have played the GameCube versions recently and think they're great, I personally think Banana Mania is the best in the series and my preferred way of playing these games. The thing that makes this game so special is just the huge amount of content there is, as you have 300 levels recreated in HD. And although some older fans don't like this remake, remake for what they did to the physics, I still think the controls are really good and you still get a great sense of speed and momentum when rolling your monkey. These stages are absolutely phenomenal. The level design is just so creative and they offer the perfect challenge. The fact that you can't jump in these stages leads to some fun problem solving, and pulling off speedrunning strats is so addicting. These monkeys are also just so charming and I love their designs. My favorite characters would have to be Ai, Baby, and Yan Yan. We also can't forget all the party games that are a blast to play with friends. My favorites would have to be Monkey Race, Monkey Bowling, and Monkey Golf. I also love that Banana Mania adds all of these unlockable outfits and characters, and there's even DLC of the classic character models. This is also a controversial opinion, but I even love the new soundtrack they made for Banana Mania. I think the EDM goes hard and it perfectly fits the vibe of the game.
If there's one thing I love about Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania, it's the game's visuals. Everything from the characters to the menus, it's just perfect in my eyes. Also, the whole game uses yellow as a prominent color in its menus. Bananas are yellow, monkeys love bananas, it just fits together so nicely. Also, the soundtrack fits perfectly in this game. I don't know if Silverkid is going to put this in the video, but if you want to listen to it, the soundtrack for the game is on Spotify, and I assume other streaming platforms, so you have no excuse not to listen to it. You get to see all the monkeys wearing headphones, which I think is pretty cool. Anyways, sorry, back to the game. The levels in this game are all bite-sized, so you really can just pick up and play this game for a few minutes at a time if you really want to. The levels are all designed in a way that feels so refreshing. For the most part, they all introduce some new obstacle for you to overcome, which I just think is great. The first level may have you rolling down a hill, and the next introduces some curves, then halfway through the game you're bouncing off bumpers trying to reach the end. It's so refreshing and keeps the game feeling fresh. Now, the levels can be pretty short, spanning anywhere from 10 to 60 seconds long depending on the level. The game does offer 300 levels for you to choose from though. While the levels are just recreations of levels from the first 3 console games with some small tweaks, you are able to play the original version of all these levels in the original stage mode, which I just think is awesome. There are tons of unique backgrounds that the levels can have to boost the enjoyment of the game. The first couple have you playing in a jungle, but you seem to travel all over the place, like space, in a mountain range, a carnival. It just seems like there is an endless amount of areas for levels to take place in. One thing I think this game does great is its cast of cute characters. You have the staples of the Super Monkey Ball series like Ai, Mimi, Baby, Gon, Yan Yan, Doctor, Jam, and Jet, alongside tons of alternate costumes for each character. That's not all though. This game also brings in tons of SEGA characters styled in the Super Monkey Ball art style. There's classic Sonic and classic Tails from the Sonic the Hedgehog series, Beat from Jet Set Radio, Kiryu from Yakuza, and Morgana from Persona, alongside some SEGA consoles being playable like the Game Gear, Sega Saturn, and Dreamcast. There are also some non-SEGA characters that were available to download like Hello Kitty and Suezo from Monster Rancher. With all these playable characters, there's bound to be at least one character you enjoy playing as.
Literally the only complaints I have for Banana Mania is that the story mode doesn't feature proper cutscenes like in Super Monkey Ball 2, and the physics in Monkey Target aren't as good as it could have been. But other than that, Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania is an awesome celebration of the Monkey Ball series, and I loved everything this game had to offer. Coming in at number 3, we have Nights into Dreams, released in 1996 for the Sega Saturn, with the remastered port releasing later for Xbox Live Arcade and PlayStation Network. Nights into Dreams is the 3D passion project of Sonic Team after making the Sonic trilogy on Genesis, and as much as everyone at Sega tried pushing Sonic Team to make a new Sonic game for the Saturn, Yuji Naka and his team pushed back and released this game instead, which I am extremely grateful for because Nights into Dreams is one of, if not the most creative and experimental game of all time. I absolutely love the story of Nights. It's simple, but it's a very fun and wholesome plot where the magical jester Nights helps these kids Elliot and Claris overcome their fears by going on an adventure to save Nightopia. And for this game's age, it does a really good job portraying the story through the opening cutscenes and especially through the actual gameplay. Speaking of gameplay, what I love about Nights is that it has a very similar philosophy to the classic Sonic games where you have very simple controls, in this case only using one button to dash and using the analog stick to fly. But what makes Nights fun is what it does with these simple mechanics, but instead of focusing on speed, Sonic Team wanted to focus on flying, and flying is so much fun in these stages. Going through these orange hoops to get points and trying to beat your high score is so addicting. This extremely fun and simple gameplay is also paired with these beautiful and imaginative visuals. Nightopia is such a unique place and is the perfect dreamlike world, and it's insane how Sonic Team was able to come up with a place like this. The boss fights are extremely fun too, with very wacky designs and and I especially love Knights' rival Riala. Knights in general has such a fun and unique character design and is just so charming. The soundtrack of this game is amazing too. It sounds very whimsical and dreamlike, which fits this game perfectly. And I especially love the music in Christmas Nights. Speaking of,
Yeah, this thing is super neat. So basically, Christmas Nights was a shortened demo version or sampler version of Nights into Dreams that was released during the holiday season of 1996. This is kind of a sequel to the original game as it takes place after the first game, but it's pretty much just a holiday themed level pack if you ask me. There's only one level, being Christmas Spring Valley, and it's pretty cool. Everything's decked out with holiday decorations. There's also only one boss fight, and it's literally the exact same thing as its original counterpart, but something unique to this version of the game are the presents. After completing the level with each character, you'll have an opportunity to play this matching minigame, and if you get a match, you unlock a present. These unlock a number of things, like time attack modes, a karaoke mode, and even a completely separate side mode where you play as Sonic the Hedgehog and run around in the level. It's all pretty cool stuff. But even though the game is called Christmas Nights, different things will happen if your system clock is set to a certain date and time. Like on New Year's, you'll get a different title screen and outfits for your character. Similar things will happen if you play the game on Valentine's Day as well. Playing the game on April Fool's Day will have you playing as Riala instead of Knights. There's just a bunch of little things that went into this little demo game, and that's so cool to me. Today, you can access a lot of this stuff in the modern Steam and console versions of Nights into Dreams, but not any of the extra modes, weirdly enough. So sorry to all of you Sonic into Dreams enthusiasts out there. Sadly, it's also pretty difficult to find a North American copy of this game under the price of a Nintendo Switch 2 game. That's a bad thing, by the way. But regardless, this is still such a cool novelty thing, and I wish game companies did stuff like this today.
overall, Nights into Dreams, despite its short length, is nothing short of a masterpiece and one of the greatest games of all time. Coming in at number 2, we have Puyo Puyo Tetris 2, released in 2020 for the Nintendo Switch, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 is one of my biggest guilty pleasures, as it's not only my favorite puzzle game and my favorite multiplayer game, but it is one of my favorite games of all time. The Puyo Puyo series in general holds a very special place in my heart, as I love the fun and addictive puzzle gameplay, and I especially love the characters in the world of Puyo Puyo. I just find it so charming that this Japanese puzzle game not only has characters and lore, but these characters are also just very fun with such awesome designs, and I always love following their adventures. My favorite characters include Amity, Sig, Lemris, Arl, Shezo, Witch, and Draco. But coming back to this specific entry, Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 is a sequel to the Switch 1 launch title, and both games are crossovers of Puyo Puyo and Tetris. For those of you who don't know, Puyo Puyo is a match 4 puzzle game where the main objective is to pull off as many consecutive chains in order to beat your opponent. What I love about this game is how much content there is for both of these gameplay styles. We have versus mode where you can go against each other using any gameplay style, my personal favorite swap mode where you constantly swap between Puyo Puyo and Tetris mid-match. Another favorite of mine is Big Bang mode where you have to spam chains as fast as possible with the Puyos and Tetraminos already set up for you. Playing this mode also allows you to frequently see all of the cool chain animations these characters have. There's also a party mode where you can use a number of power-ups during a match, fusion mode where you can use both Puyos and Tetraminos in the same grid, and new to Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 is Skill Battle, which is a mode that features RPG elements.
Hey guys, Cosmic Popstar here. I wanted to add on to the conversation of Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 by giving my 2 cents on it, mainly talking about what I thought of the story. Puyo Tetris 2's story, in my opinion, does so much for the characters we know and love, and to me, in terms of character interactions, it was a rather good entry to the series. I love getting to see the SS Tetra members making a comeback, and despite their memories being wiped from the previous game, I love the detail that their bonds and character growth was kept over from the last game. I especially like the witty banter between the characters and homages to older games, and also the lore tidbits. While it may be confusing to newer fans or strictly Sega era enjoyers, I can't say the inclusion was unwelcome. To me, it shows that Sega hasn't completely thrown the compile and or pre-Fever era aside when it comes to writing for newer entries. Puyo Puyo Tetris 2's story was enjoyable throughout, and it never felt like it dragged on for too long. Sega also made a good choice keeping the Manzai cutscenes that had no real story relevance, but still gave us extra moments with the characters behind optional side chapters. It's good that anyone who just wanted to play the main story could focus on that instead. Puyo Tetris 2 remains one of my favorite Puyo games, and I'm glad that it was ranked as highly as it was in Silver Kid's list. I feel like its initial reception was rather cold, but as I replayed it in order to give my thoughts for this video, I realized it was actually way better than I remember it being. I truly don't understand why there was so much hate surrounding it. I hold this game near and dear to my heart, and I look over it with fondness. And I'm glad I got a chance to share my thoughts with you all today.
Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 is just one of those games I could play forever and never get bored of. This game is also a big reason as to why I'm such a huge fan of the series and want to see more Puyo games localized. I will always love this game. Coming in at number 1, we have what else but Sonic X Shadow Generations, released in 2024 for the Nintendo Switch, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. Now I've already made a review on Sonic X Shadow Generations, giving my full thoughts on both games, but to put it briefly, Sonic X Shadow Generations is not only my favorite Sonic game, it's not only my favorite Sega game, but it's my favorite video game of all time. The original Sonic Generations was already my favorite game growing up, being the perfect celebration of the entire Sonic series leading up to that point, with amazing high-speed gameplay, perfect level design, awesome boss fights, great visuals, and a fire soundtrack. Somehow though, they made this game even better with the newly released remaster of Sonic Generations that adds a brand new campaign that's on par and in some ways even better than the original. That being Shadow Generations, which features the same amazing high-speed gameplay, but this time with Shadow, alongside a great cinematic, heartfelt story where he reunites with Maria once more. And overall, Shadow Generations is the perfect celebration of the early 2000s era of Sonic, which is an era that often gets neglected. Sonic X Shadow Generations is the ultimate package and the perfect Sonic game, and I couldn't be happier that this game exists. And I even have multiple copies of this game and this giant GameStop poster to prove it. And that concludes the list of my top 5 favorite Sega games. Huge thank you to all of the awesome channels that helped me cover these games. Make sure to check out SB129, Lennox, SF Productions, and Cosmic Popstar. But anyways, that's gonna be it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and happy 65th anniversary, Sega.
Yo, what are you guys still doing here? Video's over. Go home.